Well, for the first time since about August of last year, and that's based on the game and Skype giving me the day or giving me the month. I'm back with Sam.
Dude, August of last year, really?
That's what the game said. That's what the game said. That's the last.
I feel like this is a tradition for us to go. Really, it's been that long?
It's been 9 months.
Time.
It's been 9 months since we recorded.
It's been 9 months since we talked. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Just at home under quarantine. What's it called? Shelter in place. Fun.
I was gonna say, how long will it take for us to make an insensitive joke like it usually does?
How long is it take for us to go back outside?
Well, I have a familiar site set up. You know, as I said before we started recording, our 2004 season is the B-roll, and right here, because it's...
Yeah, we were talking about that. It's a fun year. I think you're breaking up a little bit or something.
It's fitting because in this video, we are celebrating the last 3 years of 2016 with the fact that 2020 will be out in the next month. According to our friends at Grey Dog Software, and I say our friends because without Adam Ryland and Grey Dog Software, specifically Adam Ryland, how would we spend a lot of the time that we spend?
They should release the game early if they can. I really think they should. The way that Disney Plus uploaded Frozen 2 early because of the quarantine.
Well, according to Adam, he's going to do what he usually does and release the demo a week before the game.
Nice. I mean, that makes sense in a normal world, yeah.
As he always does, but based on his developer's journal, he's still doing final testing. And it's possible what he mentioned when he was talking about frequently asked questions was that releasing the game early may not fit into his schedule. It may be too much work to rush the game out.
I'm sure he's still got stuff going on as far as getting the game together.
Yeah. Well, so I'll ask you, well, how do you want to do it? Do you want to start with celebrating 2016, or do you want to start with talking about the new stuff that's going to be in 2020?
Let's get through 2016 first. That way we can go out with the old and with the new.
Sounds good to me.
I'm still playing it. In fact, inside I have 2016 keyed up on my computer. I was playing it before I came out here to talk to you.
As was I. I was playing. I restarted a season with HWA in 1998. And I've been running through. I have Charlie Haas as world champion, and Caprice Coleman and Del Torborg as the tag team champions. When you're a small company, you can have random tag teams as tag team champions, because whatever works when you're growing as a company. Because in TEW 13, I got HWA to a cult, but I couldn't get him. I couldn't get him any further. Partially because TEW.
Speaking of random tag teams,
Exactly. You know, because
when I started WWE 2008, Carlito was a tag. I feel like we're going in and out. I feel like we're not like. I feel like this conversation is going in and out. Are you there?
yeah, I'm here.
There you are. I feel like we have a bad signal or something. The conversation is going in and out. It's not. I keep losing you.
Well, I mean, it's just Skype telling us not to talk. I mean, it's like, well, what's this? You two haven't used Skype in 9 months. What the hell? I mean, I'll even say that I haven't before. What? I was so my videos were so backlogged on YouTube that I put up our last video in November. The last video we recorded in November.
Wow. It's like we didn't even take time off at all.
Even though the last time we recorded was August.
Yeah.
But I took I took 2 months off of YouTube. Oh no, I wasn't backlogged. That's not how prepared I was. I just never uploaded it. I put it up in August and then I didn't upload it. I forgot about it until November. Because I would go a couple weeks or go a month and then not check YouTube because I wasn't really into YouTube anymore. Which is why it took, again, it wasn't TEW, it wasn't you, it wasn't anything. It was YouTube. I wasn't into making videos anymore. I just wasn't interested anymore. And I took 2 months off and I started making videos again in February. Which is one of the reasons why I contacted you and, been in contact with other people I've been more focused on making content on my own than making content with other people, which is one of the reasons why I think I stopped in the first place, because the last Let's Play series I did, it was, in, I think the fall of 2018. And it was with Chaotic Wrestling. It was the first independent wrestling company or small company that I did a Let's Play with. It went 2 episodes. Like the background episode and then the first episode, and then I never uploaded another video of it. Because I just couldn't get interested in it, partially because I didn't know anybody in the series, like in the company. And the other part of it was I just wasn't into recording anymore. I just wasn't into recording Let's Play series anymore. So then all of 2019 was just recording with you and recording with another friend. And I stopped recording by myself. But then to the 2016 bringing me back, I started doing a WWE 1991 database, or season. And it got me, I'm in 1996 now. And I noticed that I started doing things in 1995 very reminiscent of transitioning to the Attitude Era. So I started a series called The Transition, New Generation to the Attitude Era. Something brought me back to YouTube. I started in 95 because I started having, small, Owen Hart starts becoming like this, more egotistical and more, tempered and, more aggressive, and Chris Candido starts doing this, and, some people start doing things that don't fit the new generation and fit more Attitude Era. And now 1996, you got, still slowly but surely moving towards, I got the Sandman, and for a month, I had the Sandman subtly move from Mr. Sandman. You've heard about his old gimmick, right? Where he used to play the surfer.
Mr. Sandman? I don't think so.
Yeah, the Sandman used to be a surfer. He used to go out in a wetsuit with, like surfer Sting hair and glasses, and would just go out like that. And then he just and then after like a month or two or so, he eventually transitioned to the Sandman we know. The beer drinking and smoking cigarettes, and the cult icon he would become. So instead of just randomly having him transition over a month gap, I had him move from Mr. Sandman to the Sandman, taking on, like after winning a match, he'd go to a fan and drink a beer with him, or he lost a match, so he'd take a cigarette and start smoking a cigarette. And now he's starting to walk out to the ring, smoking cigarettes and drinking beer, and he's under the name The Sandman. Subtle switches from, I guess, PG to TV-14, but it's also, like I said, in one of the videos, Sonny's there, and I think that one of the things that needs to be addressed is Sunny can be more than just tits and ass. She doesn't have to be. She can be a serious member of the roster and a valued member of the roster. And that's what I'm going to do. She's not just going to be the sex appeal or the sex break. She's going to be actually a serious, hated cunt of a heel. Because that's what she can be. But, you know, in all this time, well, I guess the best way to put it is, since you've been playing TEW16 from the start, right? Since it came out 3 years ago?
Oh, yeah, I've been playing it, since, I think, since 2005? No, 2010, I don't know. I've been playing it for a long time.
Oh, no, I mean this game. Yeah, I mean this game.
Yeah, I played this game since it came out.
Of all the databases you've picked, which was your favorite?
I do agree with your big love for 2004. I do think it's a very fun one and a very good one. I also do like, it depends because like what's close to my heart is the 90s, you know. So
Yeah.
I played a few times where it was the beginning of Nitro. I like to play on both sides of it. You know, be WCW for a little while or be WWE for a little while just to see how things go. I was WCW and Nitro launched and I was doing Hogan versus the Dungeon of Doom. It was going to lead to a big War Games match where the Dungeon of Doom was going to be disbanded. And then on the other side of the fence, Jerry the King Lawler won the WWF Championship from Diesel. And I thought that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, well, before I express my opinion, what was the worst database you've picked? I'm sure you've regretted downloading some databases over the, 2-3 years you played.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how much the person puts into it. Like, there was one, I think it was a 2010 one that I found that was unplayable just because there was, like, nobody in it. I mean, not nobody, but there's a lot of people that weren't in it. There was a lot of companies that weren't in it. It was, like, unplayable.
For me, the 2000 database. The 2000 database was horrible. It was
that one's pretty bad.
It was by far one of the worst ones I've ever played, and I've played a lot of shitty ones. But the main thing with a lot of this...
What about mod makers, you know, because that's what makes the difference right there. Like, I found this random dude on the TEW group on Facebook. He was like, this guy named Todd something, I don't remember his name. I'm friends with him on Facebook, he's a cool dude, but he looks like he's like 15. He's really young, and he made a 2006 database, and it was really good, and I really enjoyed that one. That's actually one of my favorites, the 2006 one that dude Todd made.
Honestly, that's probably the same 2006 one I have, because I remember, I think that was the one you might have recommended I download.
I lost you.
I think that might have been the one you recommended I downloaded, because I remember there was one you recommended I downloaded, but I didn't, like, most of the average ones are average because of, nitpicking, nitpicking here, nitpicking there, like, oh, this guy's not supposed to be in this company, he's supposed to be in this company, or, this guy should be able to get these good, matches this good and not this good, or, you should be, the TV providers or this or that. Because normally with databases, from what I've seen, it's the TV providers. That, companies that shouldn't be getting TV are getting TV because there's no minimum requirement for the television provider.
Oh, yeah, that's true too. I never thought of that. You're right about that. I never thought of it even like that.
But, I would probably say 1991. 1991's my favorite, or 2004. Both of them are very good. I'd probably say 1991.
Yeah.
But I'd also put 1980 as a close third. and 1998, because 1998 is not that bad.
See, the problem with me, with an old one, like, for example, 1991 is a fantastic save. It's really fun.
I agree.
But the problem with me is, like, I play it like I would play it today. You know, I put big matches on Superstars, and it's really slow for me because you have to go jobber matches and build to the pay-per-views that are like every 3 months, and you know it just feels really slow to me, and so that's why I can't really play a 91 save.
Well, I actually did that because in the WCW save I had, because I did 1991 in TEW 13, obviously, because that's how it transitioned. But, I mean, and that's even something to speak on, that, some of the databases didn't transition well from 13 to 16 because of the new stuff, or, whatever. But it's like, I booked 1991 and 13 like I would now. But in 16, when I did the WWE one, I booked it the way it was supposed to be booked at that time. So there was, between King of the Ring and SummerSlam, there was no pay-per-view. Because there was no need to have a pay-per-view, and it allowed more time to build from King of the Ring to SummerSlam. And this way, also, if I wanted the winner of the King of the Ring to get a world title shot, you can't say, oh, well, he should get a title shot in July, not in August. It's like, well, yeah, he can get a title shot in in August, because there's no pay-per-view in July. But it was also with WrestleMania, where I never liked having the February pay-per-view, because there's nothing that happens between WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. So that's why in that particular season I did Saturday night's main event, because Saturday night's main event gives me a free TV special to do on in between the big pay-per-views, to where I don't have to try as hard because it's a TV special, not a pay-per-view. Basically, in a long-winded way, I'm saying I booked 1991 like you were supposed to, but now I'm more integrated. Like, I'm trying to go by how it would change based on the time period, but not changing it to the degree of where Vince Russo changed it to, more to the degree of how I would have done the Attitude Era instead of how Vince Russo did.
Yeah, but then it's like the Attitude Era in 91.
Well, yeah, but I'm 5 years in now, so I'm in 96.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
With basically everybody.
I haven't gotten that far because I've never been patient enough with it.
Yeah, with everybody gone now, Hogan's gone, Warrior's gone. It's Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Ric Flair, and Ricky Steamboat on top. Because WCW released Ric Flair because Jim Herd hates him.
So who's your WWF champion?
Ric Flair.
Wow.
Yep. Bret Hart's been feuding with Owen for the last year. But they haven't really been in a feud, they've just been feuding. Like, they haven't been in an actual storyline.
And Ric Flair starts off the game where? In WWF or WCW?
In WCW.
And so you just got him over time.
Yeah, they released him within the first year because his contract expired, and Jim Herd didn't sign him back. So basically what happened in real life.
And see, the cool thing about the next TEW is you're going to be able to make a save at any point. So you're playing 91, you're 5 years in, you could just stop where you are, make a save, upload it, and then I could download it and start playing it from where you left off.
That is actually pretty cool. Because basically, I had Owen Hart and Bret Hart both win. Bret won his first world title at WrestleMania 11 in a triple threat match with Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair. Owen Hart won his first Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 11 against Kerry Von Erich and Paul Roma. So Owen won the Intercontinental title the same night Bret won the world title. And then after that, interviewers started asking Owen about Bret and not about him. So slowly but surely, Owen started, developing hatred for his brother. And then he turned heel in November at Survivor Series on Lance Storm because Bret asked Lance to join his team first against Chris Candido and not Owen. So Owen turned on Bret out of jealousy. And Lance Storm was the guy who ended up beating Owen for the title, for the Intercontinental title. Only Lance Storm ended up getting stolen. So, anybody whose contract is expiring 9 out of 10 times, WCW offers him. And 9 out of 10 times, WCW signs him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, now it's finally getting to the point where I'm ready to do Owen versus Bret for the first time.
Oh, that's cool.
They're going to work at Survivor.
Show is it? Is it going to be at WrestleMania?
They're going to first fight at Survivor Series.
What year?
1996.
Oh, wow. Where's Steve Austin? Do you have him?
Steve's managed by Bobby Heenan and teaming with Brian Pillman. They're going to...
WWF?
Yeah, they're with me. Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm going to have them work each other in the King of the Ring. And Brian Pillman's going to get injured during the match. And it's gonna affect his throat because he has always had the throat surgeries. And then Steve, Pillman's gonna get out. Steve's gonna advance, and then Steve's gonna play like he's remorseful. But then once Pillman comes back and he can't cut the promos, he's got his hoarse voice. And then Austin's gonna ram him into the ring post and bloody him, and that's gonna make Pillman a sympathetic babyface. Steve, the Texas rattlesnake, the angry heel. And of course, Bobby Heenan is going to stay with Steve Austin because I'm not going to make Bobby Heenan a sympathetic babyface. But that's hopefully going to propel Pillman up the card and Austin up the card because that's going to be the big... the Hollywood Blondes.
What do you call Steve Austin and Brian Pillman?
The Hollywood Blondes, like they were in real life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Shawn Michaels started feuding with The Undertaker for the first time.
Arn and Tully. And any horsemen besides Flair?
No, just Flair's the only one. Flair's the only one. He's, I got Ricky Steamboat, but I don't have the Horseman.
That's cool though, Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah, Ricky made Owen Hart Ricky basically made Owen Hart, so.
See, stuff like that, I want to see that like on YouTube, like a 5-year run and shit.
Yeah. Well, I did that bits and pieces with the old WCW season, but that, yeah, I mean, is there any, well, of all the seasons, I guess, you've done, what is the one storyline, if there is, or angle or whatever that sticks out that you did?
Oh, are you gonna debut Angle as Angle in the company?
Oh, Kurt Angle's not there yet,
No,
no.
it is around the same time.
Yeah.
What about The Rock?
He's in developmental.
Nice.
Yeah, he's in developmental. Taker and Michaels are feuding.
Oh, make sure you get Roman Reigns on the phone as soon as you can. He comes out in about 2010, so keep your eye out for him.
Yeah. Now,
I know you're 96 now, but remember, in 2010, Roman Reigns comes out.
of all the games you played, is there any like feud or storyline that you did that you're like, you know, like you patted yourself on the back for it?
Well, one time when I was playing a 91 save, Undertaker refused to sign with me. He signed with WCW.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still had him for like a month or whatever, until his contract expired. And so on his way out, I repeatedly had him lose to Virgil. I thought that was pretty fun.
Well, one thing just popped into my head. I'm sure I know you, so I'm sure you've done this. Random tag teams. Any of them that stick out, random tag teams that you've made in TEW16. Because in mine I have I brought Gary Hart in because of course I love Gary Hart, and he was managing Shawn Michaels for a few years, and Mike Awesome was Mike Awesome was Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. But then Michaels turned babyface, feuded with Awesome. Now Awesome is gone and Michaels is babyface, so Gary Hart needed a new client. So I brought in Kevin Nash, put him under the name Diesel.
Oh wow!
And
that's a good storyline.
And Gary Hart now manages Kevin Nash or Diesel and Ahmed Johnson as a tag team.
Oh wow!
And their tag team name is Pearl River Diesel.
That's kind of lame, but that's funny.
That is by far the most random tag team I've made, I think.
I would go more like Diesel Powerhouse or something.
That does sound better, but but is there any that come to mind for you?
Like tag teams, or do you mean like managers?
No, like random tag teams that you've made in your time playing this game.
I'm not sure. Yeah, keep losing it.
Like random tag team, like random tag teams that you put together in the time that you've been.
I keep losing you. It's so weird. Something weird is really happening. Like I lose you, and then it makes it like do, and then you come back.
Huh.
It's weird. I don't know what's happening, but I'm not catching very much of what you're saying.
Random tag teams that you put together, like they're not really a tag team in real life, but you put them together in your save because you thought, oh well, it's better than releasing the guys. Yeah, I'm here.
Now, right? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. This call is like really not good.
Should I repeat what I said?
Well, it was about managers.
We'll get to that, but tag teams, any tag teams that you put together, like random tag teams.
One of my favorite is always it's Sean Casey and Chris Michaels. Like they're two indie guys, but I always like to put them together and call them megastars. But it's really weird because it's really hard to find Chris Michaels in saves. Like it's like he disappears. Yeah,
I don't actually remember him being in many saves.
Yeah, I think it was an older tag team.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites though from like the series. In this one particular 16, I don't know. I mean, probably just normal tag teams.
Well, yeah, usually I go with normal tag teams too. I just, it was one of those cases where neither one of them.
I can't think of anybody that I randomly put together and like I loved them.
Oh no, I'm not saying I love Diesel, and it was just one of those cases of I'm paying him to stick around, so But to the question you were asking, is there anybody in every save you do that if they're in the save, you have to get them?
Yeah, like, I mean, like, my favorite guys, like, an AJ Styles, I would always want, like, no matter what. RVD, if I can get him. Usually he's in rehab, though.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a game where RVD and Jeff Hardy have not been in rehab?
No. I mean, we go back to the 2004. I was in August. Kurt Angle just came back from rehab. He had not worked a match thus far this year. He's been in rehab. Kurt Angle. Rob Van Dam's worked 4.
A bunch of VCW guys for 2008. And before I put them on TV, I gave them on drug tests.
I'm guessing none of them have debuted yet. But yeah, I mean, I've done various 1980s. Gino Hernandez is always the top guy. I have to sign. I want to say 91 would probably be Ricky Steamboat. It would probably be Ricky Steamboat, considering in all the 90 seasons, if Ricky Steamboat's on free agency, he's one of the first people I go for.
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah, you'd like to get him in his older age as a road agent.
Oh yeah, even in '98, I'll get him if he's available. I'll get him as a road agent.
Yeah, in 2012, I'll get him as a road agent.
2004. Is there anybody that I signed in both? Oh, Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce, definitely. I love Adam Pearce.
Yeah. That's why I'm like CM Punk and Colt Cabana and guys like that.
Yeah, CM Punk and Colt Cabana, Ken Doane.
AJ Styles, Chris Hero, Claudio.
Just
Brian Danielson.
Yeah, Brian Danielson. Just people like that, I guess. It's more selective in the older games because, I guess, especially in like the 90s, because if you're, 1994, how many people aren't signed by either WWE or WCW that is worth signing to WWE or WCW? I mean, the one thing I would always probably say is that there's always a time in every season that I do that I look at semi-active wrestlers like the legends and see if there's any legends that are worth like bringing in as on a temporary basis just to see, just to get a month out of them or whatever. Like Terry Funk. Like Terry Funk, by far, is one of the top guys that I usually signed.
Oh, you're back. I heard the music.
And I would just provide a disclaimer to anybody who's listening that is actually curious what the background noise is. If I know Sam, when I presume I do, he's outside or spending some time outside. Am I right?
No, not at the moment. I'm inside right now.
Oh. Well, because I heard some outside noise.
I mean, I was in the garage, but I'm inside now.
Well.
I'm inside for a few minutes.
Well, it was a delayed disclaimer. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I don't know. We're having we're losing each other for 1 or 2 minutes at a time here.
Yeah. Well, to answer my own question from a few minutes ago, one of the from TEW 16, I would probably say one of the angles or feuds that I'm glad worked out the way it did was I did Georgia Championship Wrestling for a short period of time. I say a short period of time, but I was there for about a year and a half. And I worked Tommy Rich versus Jerry Lawler for a year. It started with Jerry Lawler blinding Tommy Rich, and then Jerry went on a one-man wrecking crew through Georgia for the year until Tommy came back, and then the feud ended in December the same year it started in the same place. The reason why that sticks out is because that's the only time that a blinding angle actually did good. That's the only time that a blinding angle actually worked and actually did good. It actually got an 100. I've tried it 100 times to get a blinding angle over, and it never worked out. It never did good. It never was a good rating. It never, people never wanted to do it because of the intensity of the angle or whatever the case may be. But yeah. That's one of the few that actually stick out for me from TEW16. Now, a little bit of a side note. I noticed, I was looking into it a few weeks ago because, as I mentioned to you off camera, I just started getting back into YouTube, and I've been trying to put together some content and stuff like that. And I looked on Great Oak Software's website because I know some of the games are free. With the release of 2020, I know all the games are going to go down in price, all the previous games, except I think TEW16, I think.
Well, I know that the last game came out, they didn't go down in price, the other ones. I don't think they did.
Well, I know one of them's free from Great Oak Software.
Yeah, it's probably still 2005.
It could be 2005. So that means 2007 is $8, and then, it goes up in price from there.
Yeah, because when I started playing, 2005 was this one for freeware, and that's when I started playing TEW.
My question was going to be, if you could if our hunch is right, that 2007 would then become free. Is 2007 worth downloading, even, or would 2005 be your go-to if I was willing to, just to dial back, take a trip back in time and see how things have evolved from TEW 2005 to now? Like, basically what I'm asking is, if you had the opportunity, if you wanted to download an old TEW game, what would be your go-to game to download? Out of all the TEW games you played, which one would you download if you had the opportunity to download it and you didn't have to pay a dime for it?
16 probably, TEW. It's the best one by far.
Until TEW 2020 comes out. With that transition, I think it's time, and with that transition, it's time to go and switch over to TEW 2020. So, just a coincidence. One of the things that Adam, this is no particular order, by the way, for those who are watching. If you want an updated or continued list of what Adam updated, or Adam Ryland updated for the game, which he's the game developer for TEW, then you can go check out Great Oak Software, and I will put a link to the developer's journal in the description if you wanted to check it out. But this is in no particular order. I just picked some random stuff that we can discuss. One of the things that Adam improved is the brand split. Or if you wanted to do a brand, separate brands during the season, in a particular save, like in 2004, he improved it and made some changes. One of the changes he made is that now on the brand split tab, I believe, I could be wrong with this, but now on the brand split tab, you have the ability to see which brand the person is on by color. You can assign a color to Raw or SmackDown, and they are judged by color to give you to give you more knowledge of which brand somebody is on, and make it easier for you to know the different brands. You know, as opposed to making it complicated to know who's on what brand and, you know, stuff like that. You can know who's on what brand just by color coordination. I mean, I'm sure there was probably more to that I missed, but point is, he made it easier to track who's on what brand, and you know, and keep track of the brands than it was in this game. Which I will say, one of the reasons why I never really did brand splits is because it was annoying to change the brands or remember who's on what brand or how many people or whatever the case may be. I always just preferred not having to worry, but, you know, when having 113 active wrestlers like we do in ours, it's easier. It would be if there's always a way to make something easy when you have a lot of people. And one of the ways to do it is making it color coordinated, like Adam did for 2020. What do you think of the improvement that he made? Some improvements to the brand split and the brands in general. Like one in particular is that he, like I said, the color coordination, where you can tell who's on what brand by color.
When 2020 comes out, it'll be interesting, fun to see the changes that he made. You know, when it comes to the brand split, because that's, you know, when you're playing WWE, the brand split is a big part of it, really.
Yeah. Another interesting part is you can set ticket pricing.
I saw that too. That's pretty cool.
Premium ticket price. Well, it's either normal ticket pricing, premium ticket pricing, which basically means that the tickets are more expensive, but it could affect your attendance. And cheap is, you know, cheaper tickets, less revenue, more merchandise, but more and higher attendance. Very cheap, continuation of cheap, and then free is the obvious. You know, you don't really need a explanation to, somebody to explain what free means. But I just thought it was pretty cool that they are going to allow you to set ticket pricing in the next game, and just pointing out how nerdy do we sound that we're getting excited about a game including the ability to set ticket prices.
I know, right?
But speaking of nerdy, you can actually set that house shows will be more clearly identified to making money, and you could set the house show loops. You can set it where smart booking, where the AI takes people who are fatigued or injured off the loop, and you could decide where the company goes next on the house show loop. If you want to skip a location, if you want to go back to a certain location, you basically have control over the house show loop and who's on it, who's not on it, etc., etc. So it's an expansion of the house show loop, which, you know, for those who are watching the video, you can control house shows, but it's not very detailed in this game. Like based on what that my little note said, it's going to be a lot more detailed in the next game, where you can also decide what days you run house shows on. So even as, SmackDown and Raw could run separate house shows, you could, decide, okay, this person was on this house show these 2 weeks, but I'm going to give them off these weeks or whatever. Or you could have, basically what it's also as, you can bring somebody up from developmental and put them on a house show loop before you bring them to television.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, again, I'm a lot more excited about that than I probably should be, but also, but that's just me because, you don't realize, I guess it's one of those cases of you don't realize that you want something until somebody tells you can have it. And, the fact that it's in the game and, we're going to have an expansion of house shows, which is something that I never thought I would want because I never use it in this game. It's just one of those cases that I will actually use it a lot more knowing how in-depth it will go next time. Now here's something else that, how the Royal Rumble and the King of the Ring and stuff, Money in the Bank could be made titles. In the next game, you can actually set them as the specific, tournament or, specific gimmick match, and they would win that specific gimmick match. It would not be considered a title anymore. So it would only be listed at where you could find the King of the Ring, the King of the Ring title or the King of the Ring trophy at King of the Ring, and it wouldn't show up any other time.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because I hate how it makes it a title.
Yeah, so basically, if you wanted to keep track of the Money in the Bank winners and Royal Rumble winners, you can, but they would be separate from your titles.
I like that. I like that idea.
It would be like as an annual competition type thing. And you could choose Battle Royal, Ladder Match, etc. Also, another little note that I made on the bottom is playing as child companies or developmentals, which is something that was noted very early on that now you're able to play as Ohio Valley Wrestling or NXT or Florida Championship Wrestling or Heartland, whoever you want to. Hell, you could play as OVW when they were under TNA. Point is, you can start playing in TEW 2020. You will have the opportunity to play as developmentals, and then the developmental and the parent company will send you emails when they want to promote somebody, and they'll give you time to get the belt off of them or run a segment or whatever to get them off your television, as opposed to just taking them. They'll give you I think it's like they give you like a month to give them their notice and move them up. This way, if you have a champion, you can get the belt off of them.
The champion won't be pulled up or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll give you notice.
Yeah, but also it could be where if we did a multiplayer, one of us could be the main roster and the other could be developmental.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I don't know how. Well, actually, we could do that. Yeah.
Like the multiplayers, like the way that people play online and stuff, if they make it easier for people to multiplay in different places.
That's true. I wonder, but it's definitely gonna add another layer to playing as developmental because
anyway.
It's
cool though.
But it's like, at the same time, it's like, did TEW really need another reason for us to play for another hour? Because, you know, I mean, I sit here and play, you know, 5-6 hours already. If I can be a developmental and have to deal with, you know, WWE pulling up John Cena, and I'm like, oh shit, I had plans for 6 months with John Cena down here. You know, it's like, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be one of those, because also you can, as the developmental, sign people who are not under contract to the parent company. But also the parent company could sign people, I'm pretty sure, the parent company could sign people to developmental deals and send them to you.
That would be pretty cool too.
As the developmental. You know, either way, it's going to add another interesting wrinkle to what is promising to be a very, very good game.
Hell yeah.
The last thing I was going to mention is that you can set it to where there's something. He made some edits to pre-booking, which is where you can set it to mandatory pre-booking, and if pre-booking is mandatory, then you must do whatever the mandatory pre-booking is, or you will incur penalties. Now, mandatory pre-booking doesn't have to be turned on. It could be pre-booking like it is in this game, but basically it's designed to advertise the matches ahead of time, and if you don't book the matches you had advertised or do the segments that you had advertised, then you're going to incur penalties, because then people are going to be like, oh, false advertising. And you know, people are not going to come. I think the only exception to that would be if the reason why you're not booking what you had planned to book is if the person is injured or leaves the company. But mandatory pre-booking is a thing in a way to help advertise matches ahead of time, like it would be in real life. Like if WWE announced, you know, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for next week's episode of Raw, and then they end up not doing it, people are going to be like, what the fuck? It was supposed to be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. It would be that type of thing from what I took from what I read about the pre-booking. That if you book something and you have mandatory pre-booking on, unless there's a good reason why it's not happening, you will incur penalties. Which, from what I took, is just attendance penalties, not, you know, serious penalties of like money or financial, you know, negative financial stuff. Because I don't think they would, you know, negatively impact your financial. I don't think they would have. Well, technically it would, because if you have less people attending your show, you're gonna have less money. You know. In my opinion. But if you had to pick of what you know, well, if you had to pick the first database you're going to jump at the opportunity to do in TEW 2020, knowing all the stuff that I said, and knowing what you already knew about TEW 2020 and what's coming in the game, what database would you pick? It doesn't have to be one that's already like it doesn't have to be what's it called? It doesn't have to be one that's already like a database. It could be one that's not a database, that you would just like wish it was a database. But if you could pick from any year, what year would you start in TEW 2020 with? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You're breaking up a lot. I'm not getting a lot of it.
Well, as long as my audio is getting it, then at least it's not dead air. Unfortunately, due to malfunctions through Skype and with my recording software, specifically Audacity, I lost the last bit of audio to the interview I did with Sam about TEW 2020. Basically, the ending interview was specifically designed to, basically let you know if we could pick any database to start with the game, what would we pick? And, Sam picked from his favorite era, which is the 2010s or the 1990s. I believe he picked 2010, and I selected 2004 to best have the ability to benefit from the new addition of being able to be the child company or developmental company in the game, which means you would be able to be OVW and the computer would be WWE, as I mentioned earlier in the video. With that being said, this was a lot more of a clusterfuck than I expected, but I hope to record again with Sam very soon. And with that being said, let me know down in the comment section below if you've ever played a Grey Dog Software game. If you have, what game was it? You can also look for any and all information pertaining to TEW 2020 and the release of other upcoming Grey Dog Software games in the description, because I will include a link to the Grey Dog Software's website as well as the developer's journal in the description. So, let me know down in the comment section below your opinion on games like TEW, and if you want to know whenever a new video is up on the channel, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and before you go, do not forget to ding dong that notification bell to always know when there is new activity on Wrestling Express. Till next time. Later.